Hello legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony. Today's video, I'm going to do a demonstration of what you should focus on when you're following in a group. Christopher Roxbury, one of our patrons, asked what should we focus on when you're in a tight pace line. And then another legend on the channel mentioned that he was a little bummed out because a couple of people had fallen behind him or whatever in the group rides a couple of times. So I just basically replied and told him that you don't need to worry too much about the people behind you. It doesn't mean that you ride crazily, but you need to be aware that your focus should be on the wheel in front of you. So when you're in a pace line, I've got these bikes here for demo. I'm directly behind the bike right here. So let's say you're on the bike and you're riding. I'm directly behind here. You need to be able to see around the person in front of you. You don't want to just stay directly behind. So you want to drift basically either on this side or that side so that you can see around the rider from time to time to see what's coming. So as you ride, you want to be able to move a little to the right or a little to the left, or just lean your head and look around from time to time so you know what's coming up on the road, so you know about debris and so forth. You can depend on signals. But what I mainly want to focus on is, usually it's recommended you stay within a foot, which is about what I have there behind the wheel in front of you, to take a benefit of the draft. But as it gets faster and tight pace line, you can get as close as you want, as long as you don't do this. Don't overlap. Because if that person moves one way or the other, for the very reason I'm saying, if they're looking over or on the other side and you're on either side of them and the wheels make contact, you're more likely to fall because your front wheel is more vulnerable. That's what they mean when they say protect your front wheel. When they say protect your front wheel, what it means is don't put your front wheel in danger like this, like you see me doing here. Don't do that. Now, in an echelon, it's different. When you're in an echelon where the wind's coming from that way, you're over here like this. You're not right in this corner here. So the person knows that you're riding with, that the wind's coming from there and you all are kind of staggered. They know you're there, and more often than not, you will be further up, like you'll be where the tree is. You'll be on their hip. You're not going to be in their blind spot, so to speak. So that's what I wanted to point out. So an echelon situation is different. Now, just because I say don't overlap does not mean that you who are on this bike should ride like a crazy person. You shouldn't be swinging left, swinging right. Your movements should be smooth. If you need to look around, you need to glide over. And always from time to time, you can glance under your arm. You'll be able to see where the following wheel is. If you see somebody on that side, then don't move on that side to look, move on this side. So even though you have a certain responsibility to be as smooth as possible, the legend on the channel, that's what he was concerned about. He's saying that he doesn't think he's smooth. Yeah, you can cause a wreck by being erratic, but it is still the responsibility of the following rider to keep their wheel out of harm's way. That's their job. So now, notwithstanding everything I've said, as you ride, don't just look at this wheel. You want to look ahead. You don't want to look down. You want to be looking ahead. Now, peripheral vision comes into play. As I'm looking ahead, I can still see this bike. And the reason I'm doing my hands like that, because I'm not looking at my hands, but I can still see my hands. Just try it when you're riding or even driving your car. You don't have to look directly somewhere to see things in your periphery. So as you ride, get a feel for where the bike you're following is. From time to time, you can look at this wheel, but most of the time you need to be glancing. Glance over there, glance over there, glance up the road, look behind from time to time. Always keep your eyes roaming, not staying any one place too long. Just always be glancing around. The faster you go, the easier it will be because everybody will be more predictable. The slower the speed, in my opinion, the more dangerous it is around other cyclists, because then they mess up because they're not paying attention. So when things are fast, in my opinion, it's safer. So I pay even more attention during the warm-up and the cool-down than when speeds really pick up. When speeds pick up, things just get smooth. Because if they don't, you will be dropped if you don't stay close. So the key is that in addition to paying attention to everything that's happening and periodically making sure that you're glancing at this wheel from time to time to keep your wheel out of harm's way, always make sure you're searching for where the wind is coming from. So if you're here and the wind's blowing from there, you don't want to be on this side. So then you want to drift. Use your hip to move the bike to where you're a little over on this side to look, because the wind's coming from there. Even though you're going forward and there's always forward wind, most of the times there's winds coming from the side too. So if you notice, riders will always tend to be placed on one side or the other, because what they do is, if the wind that is in my face is being blocked by this rider, by me being here, where is the crosswind coming from? There's always some kind of crosswind. It's rare that you get a perfect tailwind or a perfect headwind. It does happen, but most of the time you have winds coming from the side. So if the wind somewhat coming from the side, stay over on this side of that rider as you stay close. When it gets really fast, you can get within an inch, especially with very experienced riders, because they're not going to lock up on you, lock up their brakes. And if that does happen and you're this close, what you do is, as they slow down, you drift. I'm not going to turn the wheel, because that's not what happens. You're moving at speed. The bike just kind of glides because you're using your hip. So if this person is slowing down, you're going to drift to one side so you have a little more room as you slow down. That's what happens. That's why in the group people say slowing or stopping or whatever. It gives you the chance to avoid using your brakes. Doesn't mean that you do not use your brakes at all, but you feather them. You tap them when you need to slow down all of a sudden. Let's say you're riding and this person slows down quicker than you expect. You tap it and let it go. Don't lock it up. Just use that to slow you down. I usually use my rear brakes to modulate, but when I need to slow down more, I just tap my front brake. Don't ever lock the front brake, because it can cause you to flip. You need to make sure your weight is back. And in the paceline, you rarely need to do any emergency braking. So you don't want to be worried about the brakes. You want to use the wind that I was talking about. So as this person slows, let's say you start going down a slight downhill, you're going to be going faster than the person in front of you because they're braking the wind for you. Then you would drift your bike over to this side so the wind can slow you down. The wind will slow you down as you go, so that will keep you from being sucked into that person. That's why you watch the group ride. Sometimes you'll see us come up alongside that person for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they pick back up because the downhill is not as much, and then we slip back in. So I'm going to stop there, because this topic is a evolving topic. There is no one thing. I just wanted to touch on the main things. Most of all, remember to stay relaxed and just be aware of what is happening all around you, not just any one thing, okay? So no matter what, get your K's in.